I've already discussed in detail that the TOCA series goes all the way back to 1997, and there's a good chance another grid title will be released in the current generation. But that's my point. The series has been around for so long, the earlier titles seem inferior by today's standards. This is probably why I didn't care that much for TOCA Race Driver. It was good for its time, but the steering was touchy, the opponent drivers had no business being on a racetrack, and other racing games released during that generation like Gran Turismo and Need for Speed are still fun to play now. So I wasn't expecting anything special from the sequel despite its continued praise back in 2004. But unlike the first TOCA Race Driver, I grew up playing this one. In fact, I nearly beat it. I don't know if I'll stand a chance this time because it's been ages, but let's see.
So, what's first up then?
This time, I'm not sure whether it's permanently 4x3 or 16x9, I mean there's no option for it, which is why I decided to make it widescreen regardless. Despite technical confusions, this is a more welcoming look over its predecessor. All the tracks and cars look more detailed, and you can hear the music, at least in the menus. Obviously it doesn't push the hardware limits the same way other AAA races do, but this is acceptable, especially with the event count skyrocketing. It has a combination of real and fictional ones, and I say fictional because nobody would have the balls to race Jaguar E-Types and Aston Martin DB5s against each other. But unlike Gran Turismo, a couple of the official ones like V8 Supercars and DTM have the cars and tracks from the entire calendar of that year. I've counted the number of championships in the menu, and there are 17 more than the first game. But there's a hook. Only 3 are available at the beginning, and the effort to unlock them, we will get to that. Most events reuse the same tracks, so wouldn't it be better to have all the ones from the predecessor with the additional ones introduced in this? Because it's not the case here. There are only a few more tracks than the first game. But here's something to cheer you up. Track roads are as wide as they should be. Now at first saying that is pointless, but if you compare the first 2 Race Driver games, the roads in this one are quite narrow. This was another problem I forgot to point out. Or maybe the cars are giant, I don't know, but I do know it's better in the second game. Some tracks don't even bother to have a surface. Yes, rally events are introduced here despite Codemasters having their own series for that. Even though Spain is the only country that has a stage structure, there are a couple of Rallycross events added to the mix as well. When you look at the total number of championships here, there's something for everyone.
Long 3 left. Jump into very long 6 left.
The career mode has no real story this time, or at least the scope has taken a step down. It wasn't that good to begin with, but this feels more like a generic career mode with a bit of melodrama.
Hey, relax, man. I was just doing an interview.
I want her out of my pit lane.
Rick, if it weren't for them and their sponsorship, we wouldn't have a pit lane.
I don't care. I don't need bimbos with cameras flying round my head getting in the way. It's dangerous. Look at her. She's at it again.
Ryan McCain has been replaced with you, a mute race driver, and instead of having a ladder to pick your championship, you begin with a couple and sometimes just one. But as you can see from this event hub, this is a big game. The races in a championship have been shortened, so you'll be in so many different cars in a tiny span, and it's impossible to continue if you try to deliberately skip any races. I kinda like the loading screen. The bar is indicating that you're moving from one race to the next, and points where on the world map. That's a nice touch. The main objective in each championship isn't always reaching first place. What I can gather from the story, you're in debt after buying the car, team and equipment to become a race driver, and the first few events involve earning prize money to pay off the debt. I assume it's thanks to my aggressive driving. I consistently crash all the cars given to me and the mechanical bills were starting to pile up.
If you want to collect paint samples, get down the DIY shop. Less chance you giving me a heart attack.
Then the next set of objectives include rising through the racing career ladder, gathering sponsorship and beating specific rivals. So like the first game, the career mode presents itself in a state national championship environment that eventually grows globally.
You beauty, you did it. See you back in the trailers.
Don't be fooled by the details. It's still a linear career where each event you have to finish in at least the top 2 or 3 in the season standings. Always race to win. As you can tell, you can finally hear the instructor, but he's about as useful as the one in Daytona, USA.
Nice overtaking there.
But at least I know when to make a pit stop when required. In fact, it tells me as soon as a race is loaded. If you slide out in a race in the middle of a championship, have no fear because you can restart at any time. Thank God for that, because once again, you don't have a chance to qualify and you're put in a completely random position, sometimes even last place. I just can't put my head around the fact you have to pass a dozen cars in a few laps in a simulation racer, and the instructor has the nerve to tell me I'm not fast enough. Just put me in pole position where I belong. I'm clearly faster than everyone else. I've earned it. I don't know how I got so far as a kid because it's almost impossible to keep up now. In the career mode, after about 25% completion, the opponent drive's already put you to the test, and there's no difficulty option. It'll take over a dozen times just to finish a race in a respectable position. With the racing wheel, it's still touchy. Whatever car you drive, the surface is made of ice. It wasn't until I found out you can change the sensitivity in the control settings did it make driving pleasant to the point of liking this game. After at least an hour, you'll start to get the hang of it. Even getting off the line is easier, but despite the improvement, I still maintain it's just as hard as the predecessor, but mostly for the right reasons this time. Worth noting that people bought this game for the cover. You rarely see video games officially license more than one national championship with all the cars and tracks. Take the Australian version for example, V8 Supercars 2. Being able to race on nearly a dozen Australian tracks in V8 Supercars the moment you put the disc in the system was a luxury for Aussie racing fans. Compared to TOC Race Driver 1, this has been improved in almost every way. There are better races out there even during the 6th generation, but this is one I would recommend. And because it's a racing game, finding a copy cheap is easy. Just remember to turn down the steering sensitivity when using a wheel, and make time because you'll be restarting a race at least 100 times in career mode.
Congratulations, you're gonna be a TV star!